Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the council work session, City of Gulf Shores, September the 15th. Appreciate you being here. This is a work session, open discussion. We'll be talking about the agenda that we proposed for next Monday night at our council meeting, and it'll be your opportunity to ask questions, give us any comments, make any suggestions that you have on your mind. So please be willing to do that, and let's communicate well on that. I would say that the councilman discussion period for Mr. Sinek, well, Mr. Sinek didn't make it, so any other councilman have anything they want to talk about? With that, then we're going forward to Clint. The very first item on the agenda is the Volker Task Force proposal for Phase 2 of the Highway 59 widening A-Trip 2 project.
Yes, so we have a professional services proposal from Volkert for the design of Phase 2 of the Highway 59 roadway improvements for the amount of $118,213. So just a little background. The city originally hired Volkert to do the design work for all the Highway 59 widening, and then when the build grant, when we realized that the funds to construct was higher than what we had in the original build grant, we worked with AlDOT and we got an A-Trip 2 grant for the widening portion between Cypress Bend Drive, which is where you go to Target, to County Road 6. And so the A-Trip 2 will fund up to $2 million of construction costs. And so then when we got the updated cost estimate, that portion of work was over $2 million. So we decided to pull out the County Road 6 intersection and put that in with the County Road 6 project because that made the most sense, and just pull that out from the A-Trip 2 project. And so as part of this agreement, Volkert will provide the necessary design services to revise and update the construction plans, handle all the AlDOT permitting and the AlDOT reviews as required, and to perform the final design and get the construction documents. And attached here is a sketch. So north is to the right on this. So the intersection to the left, that's Cypress Bend Drive and Parkway South. And so it's going from that intersection, which includes the new traffic signals there, all the way on the right-hand side, it's ending at the entrance to the shopping center there where Island Wing Company is. And so the funds for this are included in the $5 million budgeted in this year's budget for the Highway 59 widening project, and construction costs will be in next year's budget, but again, those will be covered by the grant. So staff recommends authorizing the mayor to accept the proposal from Volkert for the final design of this project, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
The A-Trip grant has been awarded.
Yes,
we definitely have that, so this is just to put that in process.
Yes, and by the time we go through the AlDOT reviews, those generally take a couple of months. We get all the plans revised and resubmitted. They get us back their comments. So we're probably looking at this going out to bid in January, February timeframe.
I know they're not all the way to the intersection at the Target intersection going north. Do you know the timeline on that?
January is what their current schedule showing.
Okay. They've got a lot of work there to do. And then when they get that finished, is it proposed then that new lane south will be opened?
Yes.
And do we know what they're going to do with the bridge yet?
Once they get the widening up there on the north end done, they're going to get that completely done, and then we're going to open the whole thing.
Okay. Good. Any other questions, council?
When you say widen and done, do you mean all the way to 6 or to Target?
To Target.
Okay.
So that's what's in their current contract now.
That's in phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No other council questions or comments? Anybody in the audience? Any question? Any comments? Any thoughts? Thank you, Clint. Next, we have 2025 budget amendment. Cindy.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is Budget Amendment 1. And we're proposing to increase the general fund revenues by $1,459,596 and transfers by $10.4 million. And for collections in excess of budget, the $10.4 million is for grant funds received and for an advance line of credit payment of $5.5 million. The expenses in the general fund are being increased by $1,443,565 for various expenses, and I'll show that in another slide in just a moment. And the total general fund revenue increase is 11.8. That's the combination of the 10.4 and the $1,459,000 in revenue. The 10.4 again is transfers. There's the list of the taxes and license fees that have come in excess of collections. And here's the list of the $10.4 million in transfers. The ecotourism grant was $3.1 million, the Waterway East grant $1.8 million, and the advanced line of credit payment, as I mentioned before, was $5.5 million. There's the list of the detail of the general fund expenses. In executive professional services, we're increasing it by $100,000, and $90,000 of that is for the Waterway Village study, and $10,000 is for the Fort Morgan Road speed study. HR workers' compensation is increasing by $125,000 based on the results of the most recent audit. The audit fees went up, and so financial services is requesting an additional $4,400. And in finance and admin on software, we're requesting, $155,000 for Public Works OpenGov software, and $57,435 for NeoGov cameras that weren't budgeted. We're adjusting the lapse factor on police salaries and bringing back in $240,000. We had originally estimated more vacancies than we currently have. And then the fire salaries and benefits, $101,000 of that is for a inspector, and that's with the benefits. And the vehicle was roughly $70,000. We're also adding $190,000 for the Sportsplex tournaments line. That's for the ACV volleyball. And then Public Works Engineering and Consulting, we're adding $300,000 for infrastructure study. And also in Public Works Maintenance, we're adding $100,000 for additional repairs for the facilities that have been incurred. We're transferring to the Storm Damage Fund $12,750, and that is for to update the debris management plan. And then again, we're doing the $10.4 million transfer for the advanced line of credit payment as well as the grant funds received. We're adding an impact fees, $34,875 to complete the fire vehicle storage facility, and $56,828 in recreation for completion of the Dix Height Park project as far as the plans for it goes. There's the $12,750 that's being transferred into the Storm Damage Fund. Again, that's for the debris management plan. In borrowed money, we added $229,500 to complete the Musco Lights installation that began in 2024. There were some expenses that came on over into early 2025, and so we paid those. And again, we'll go back over the transfer going into the debt service fund for the advance payment on the non-taxable line of credit of $5.5 million, and to pay down $4.9 million that we received from from grant funds in order to repay the borrowed funds that we used. We're increasing the ecotourism grant revenue by $2,582,000, and we're using borrowed funds until the grants are received of $7.9 million. So the total increase in this amendment is $33.1 million, total expense $33,045,000, for a difference of $76,269. The total budget carry forward for all funds is $592,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cindy. That's a lot. Council, any questions or comments? Anybody in the audience, any thoughts? Cindy, thanks.
Thank you.
She's a jewel. Keeps up with that well. A really important part of it too, so. Hello, Anna, you're next, and you have, Financial Services, got a couple of reports for us.
Yes, sir. The first one is the topic of a new vapor products tax that the state has passed, Bill 2025-377, which will enact an excise tax on nicotine consumable vapor products. Have a few slides just to go over some of the options you all have to consider today. On June 20th, we received a letter from the state notifying us of their intent to levy an excise tax on consumable vapor products. They intend to charge 10 cents per milliliter on consumable vapor products, both retail and wholesale. And the act will take place on October 1st, 2025, although they will not begin collections until October 1st of 2026. The October 1st, 2025 date is rather critical for us because you all have to make a decision on whether or not we will participate in the state share of their tax collections or whether or not we will enact and levy our own tax. Again, if we don't have a local vapor tax ordinance in place by October 1st, then we are eligible to receive a portion of the state's collections, and we will not be able to enact a local tax after October 1st, 2025's deadline. In addition, the Alabama Department of Revenue is going to charge a $150 annual permit fee for anyone selling alternative nicotine products. So we have a couple of options. The first is to participate in the state share of their vapor tax collections. Again, that would be 10 cents per milliliter on both wholesale and retail sales. Half of that will immediately go into the state's general fund. The remaining half will be divided evenly, with 25% of that going to counties in the state and 25% of that going to municipalities. Should we decide to participate in this, we would receive these funds on a quarterly basis via electronic deposit, and the formula is down below. I did, for an example purposes, use 2020 census figures for the City of Gulf Shores population and the collective population of all the 465 state municipalities, but I just completely pulled $500,000 out of the air just for illustration purposes. So again, we would take our population, which in 2020 was 15,014 people, divided by 3,041,023 people, which again is the collective combined population of all the municipalities. That would come in at just under 0.5%. And again, my hypothetical revenue figure for a quarter of the state's collections, I used $500,000, which would be an additional $2,469 to the City of Gulf Shores in annual revenue. And again, we would not be able to enact or levy or increase our taxes after October 1st, 2025. The other option we have for consideration is to levy our own tax. We had pitched going with the same amount as the state, which would be 10 cents per milliliter in the city limits and 5 cents per milliliter in the police jurisdiction. That again would automatically opt us out of any of the state shares collections. However, we would retain 100% of the collections and would be completely responsible for any collections and auditing efforts that we must pursue in collecting this tax. As a result, we may also impose an additional annual license fee, not to generate revenue, but just to cover the cost of regulating this particular industry. And again, as it stands, we won't be able to increase this rate at a later date. We have worked very closely with legal counsel on our staff recommendation, as well as received preliminary approval from the Finance Committee on August 20th. We also polled many different municipalities and received limited information from many. A lot of people are still rather unsure of how they're going to proceed, but our staff recommendation is to enact our own 10 cent per milliliter tax in the City of Gulf Shores city limits and 5 cents per milliliter in the PJ. which will automatically opt us out of receiving any of the state share. In addition, we recommend imposing an additional $150 license fee that would be billed annually in accordance with their business license renewal. If and when a penalty occurs, the penalty fine would be $500 per offense, with each day being considered a separate offense. Any municipality or county who did share their information or draft ordinances, that is the penalty that they were going with, and our legal counsel agreed that that was fair. Again, we would begin collections in accordance with the state in October of 2026, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anna, thank you. Council, questions, comments?
Just one comment. I know we discussed as a finance committee, and it's a pretty confusing tax. And I know it was kind of done in short order and presented to municipalities across the state in short order without really a lot of feedback, I don't think, and a lot of consideration. So it's been a kind of a challenge to get our arms around this issue and what's the best option for the city. Is the tax, if we impose option 2, we're doing our own city tax, is that an additional tax on top of the state levy tax, or is that in lieu of the state tax? I couldn't recall that.
I did receive confirmation from the state on that, both the additional license fee that they are going to charge of $150 and their tax would be in addition to our tax and annual license fee should we impose our own tax.
Okay, great. I thought that's what I remembered, but I wasn't sure because it's pretty confusing. And actually I think the intent, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intent is more as a preventative mechanism to, maybe protect youth from exposure to vape products, or, I don't think it's not imposed to particularly raise a large amount of revenue for the city or for the state, is my assumption, it appears. I think it's more like the cigarette tax, is trying to raise funds to counteract the negative effects that we see from tobacco products in our communities. So,
Life safety issues were definitely referenced, to your point. And just so you know, we did look back at the tobacco acts, and not really much has changed since they enacted that. So I think when they say we aren't going to really be able to increase or change this very much, I think they mean it.
So my question, this is for every retailer that handles vape products. That would be Circle K, Walmart, any place at all, not just vape shops that offer the product.
Yes, sir.
An additional $300 a year
Yes, sir.
if we choose this course of action and tax collection passed on to the consumer.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any consideration for the additional cost of us monitoring and auditing each of these many different facilities to make sure that we understand exactly what taxes they may owe?
It will be a heavy lift and a learning curve. Obviously everything that is new always is, but we will be relying on the honor system to some extent, but then also that additional $150 license fee will help us offset of having to repurpose some of staff's time to do things of that nature, auditing, and our city attorney's draft ordinance does address ability to allow city staff into the building and producing records upon request and things of that nature. So he did cover that in his draft ordinance.
You believe it's worth it? Just you're going to be managing that department. You got any thoughts that you want to share with us? Tough question, I know, but again, you're the one going to have to do the work, and it doesn't know. What Steve Griffin used to say is the juice worth the squeeze, and I
don't think we're going to get rich off of it or necessarily solve, capital problems,
just
but
worth us considering. So,
yes, sir.
audience, any thoughts? Any comments, questions? Anna, thanks.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief, you got one more? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Go ahead.
This is to present the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. We received the report from our independent auditing staff for the fiscal year ending 12/31/2024. Happy to report that we had no findings, either material or immaterial. The city's fund balance goal is 75% of revenues, not including transfers in. As Cindy covered in her budget amendment, when we receive grant revenues and, perhaps transfer that from one fund over to the general fund to be able to pay down those lines of credit, those are considered transfers in, so we don't calculate that in our goal. The general fund balance ending at year end was $79,892,886. That was up from $71,479,549 in 2023. That's an increase of $8,413,000. The fund balance at year end represented 94.67% of our revenues, not including transfers. Again, just to reiterate, our target is 75%, and we ended at just under 95%. So that was great. In accordance with passing the city's audit, we would like to also ask for permission to do the budgeted annual transfer to the capital improvements or expenditures fund. The financial policy reads such that we can transfer anything above 85% of our revenues over our target. However, the Finance Committee found it more consistent and worthwhile to transfer anything over 75% of our target, which would equal $16,597,594. And this will, again, just go toward any capital expenditures via this year or next. So as always, we will continue to apply for the GFOA Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and Cindy will also apply for the Popular Annual Financial Report Award. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Anna. Council?
Just one comment, that change from 85% to 75%, the rationale behind that is many of our projects over the last 5 to 8 years have come in over budget. We have had challenges with estimating the cost of projects, and most of them have come in with overruns requiring us to either re-engineer or redesign or really step back and reevaluate how we're going to complete some of the projects before the city. And so what this does is sets our goal at 75%, which is the level that we need to maintain the highest bond rating for the city, but it frees up capital above that we can use then, transfer to the capital account and use to augment some of these capital projects that are going on and keep us from having to go back to the capital markets to borrow money, but use some of that money above our reserve limit to apply to those capital projects. So that's the rationale behind it, to just free us up to be able to hopefully expedite some of these projects and get them done and get them done without having to borrow more money to do so. But having said that, we have enough projects on there, we probably are going to have to go to the capital markets in the next, probably next 12 to 18 months anyway, so.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Anna. Anybody with any questions or comments from the audience? Anything? Anna, thanks again. Toby, you're next.
Yes, sir. I am presenting for Kim McKenzie, Court Clerk. Before you, you'll see the proposed 2026 court dates for the Gulf Shores Municipal Court. They are based on the first and third Thursdays of each month, with the exception of January 1st, which is a holiday. That one will be rescheduled to January 8th, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Toby.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, anybody? Deputy Chief Taylor?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. What we have before you today is a 3-year memorandum of understanding with the Baldwin County Interoperability Communication System for the police and fire radio. So we have entered into agreement with them. Last one the council took action on was dated August 22nd of 22. This provides us with interoperability capability for a small nominal fee of $10 per month per radio. Each individual department budgets their own amount. In this case, this runs us about $45,000 a year. And like I said, this is a budget amount that we plan for every year for police and fire. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Taylor. Any questions or comments? Council, anybody? Thank you. Grant, you've got several for us.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. So I have 3 assembly permit applications to present for your consideration that will be voted upon next Monday. The first is the 52nd Annual National Shrimp Festival, slated to take place October 9th through 12th, Thursday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So the time and site usage period and road closures slide has been updated. So basically on Sunday, October the 5th, the chamber will begin setting up the large tents and some of the infrastructure necessary to begin the setup for the Shrimp Festival. And then Gulf Place parking areas will close on Monday, October the 6th to allow for the major setup of the vendors and tents. That will go on through the festival, and then on Sunday after the festival closes at 5 p.m., begin tearing down, and then on Monday, October 13th, by about the end of the day, the traffic conditions and the roadways will resume back to normal operations. Before you is an overall a site map. This is the western half, if you will, of the site from Highway 59 on the right-hand side of the screen toward the west. You see an entry point noted there. Last year, the chamber experimented with, and I believe successfully, the locations of entry points with the goal of not charging a fee for entry, but for calculating the number of patrons that will attend the Shrimp Festival, to count people, and also to try to limit the number of dogs that are in the event and other items that people would bring in that are not allowed within the Shrimp Festival site. Also centered there on the screen is, in red circle, is the west stage, one of the 2 activated stages for the event. Now moving along to the eastern half, if you will, of the site, from Highway 59 to the left side of the screen, the north entry point there on Highway 59, then the east entry point over there on East Beach Boulevard, and then south entry point just south of Phoenix All Suites and north of the Pink Pony Pub. The east stage is circled there in red, and you'll notice that the resident parking lot converts over on the Thursday for ADA and sponsor parking, and it's also the shuttle drop-off location. Speaking about shuttles, once again, the Gulf Shore City School System will be partnering with the Chamber to provide shuttle bus service at $6 per day to ride the shuttle, and highly encouraged as parking in the area is becoming more and more difficult. The park and ride locations, Rouse's in Orange Beach, Lake Shelby near Gulf State Park, the Waterway Village parking lot near Acme in Gulf Shores, north at Pelican Place, and then Ways Grocery Store on West Beach. Shuttle hours are similar to the start of the Shrimp Festival. So with that information, recommendation is to approve this application. We have not yet received the necessary certificates of insurance, liquor liability certificate, liquor license, which I know are forthcoming from the Chamber. But also like to really say a thank you to the Chamber for the exceptional permit application that was turned into us this year. Probably the most complete permit application we've received to date. So it was a big help for all of our departments as we reviewed the year application. And with that, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Grant. Council comments, Mr. Jones?
Just a couple of statements. You noticed on the shuttle map that there was a shift in the shuttle pickup location to Waterway Village parking. Traditionally, the Erie Meyer Civic Center parking area has been reserved for that, but an event was scheduled inadvertently, and I worked with Mr. Dugan to allow us to study whether that would be a reasonable shift. We tried to find something as close to the Civic Center as we could. And the bonus there is it will, again, bring some attention, focus some attention on Waterway Village area. People will maybe travel to the area that would want to use that for pickup locations that may not have known it existed. So whether that will continue next year, it probably should not. We should return to Erie Meyer Civic Center. But depending on development in that area, that may prove, we'll just have to see what the school system says the changes in ridership may be. We don't know what that will be yet. So that's one notable change. Also, as a nonprofit, we're not able to apply for an alcohol license until at least 30 days out from the event. We're hamstrung by that, but all of that is in process. So we expect there to be no issues with getting our licensing and insurance on time, and those will be submitted as soon as we have those in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Grant, is it an opportunity to reach out to the state park and see if our patrons could use, our citizens could use a state park?
So they are using Lake Shelby parking as a park and ride for the shuttle
No, I'm
service.
talking about for people wanting to go to the beach.
Oh, we
Since the
certainly
beach-
can. I mean, the beach in Gulf Shores is not closed. Now,
Oh,
there'd be a
okay.
little bit of it'd be a little more difficult to park,
I
but
was
our
thinking about
beaches
the
are not
parking
closed.
issue, you know, a little bit.
Sure, we can sure reach out to them. I know we're talking to them about parking other times of the year and using their saltwater pavilion parking lot. It's always open. It's just there's a fee to charge that they're charging to park there. I don't know if they'd be willing to waive the fee. We can sure
Yeah, I was
ask.
just thinking, all the people in the park, and it would be kind of difficult if they got up late to go to the beach. So
It's a great idea.
if it's an opportunity to reach out, just at least ask. You know.
I will
Can't
add
hurt
that to
ask.
add that to our request that we already currently have in with them to do that for other times of the year as well.
Yeah.
Because our conversation had really graduated to the point of us talking about a permanent relationship there, where we can work with them. You know, we provide the lifeguards at a very discounted rate to our cost, but we're providing the lifeguards to them at a really good deal for them, and trying to talk through some type of swap of opportunities there. And then we can let our ticketed local residents park there for free for any time of the year we would be a great win for us, and I think a fair discussion to have with the state park. So that's a good idea, and that's more specific than the long term.
Right.
So
We'll absolutely work on that.
let's do that.
See what we can come up
Thank you.
with.
Audience, any questions, comments? Grant, one more?
Yes, sir. A couple more. So the next is a repeat event, also Skippin' and Sippin', Meeting of the Minds. It's a 5K and fun run scheduled to take place on Saturday, October the 25th, near and around Lulu's in the morning from 7 a.m. till noon. This is a rendering of the route that basically starts at Lulu's and goes east on Waterway East Boulevard to a point where a turnaround occurs. Then they run back toward to the west and then up around the Commerce Loop and back to a event at the end of this at Lulu's. The Sippin' and Skippin' 5K and Fun Run are partnering with the Meeting of the Minds, the Parrot Head Festival that occurs around the same time, which you will hear that application on the next council cycle in October. And this has been approved by all the necessary departments and it's ready for your consideration with the recommendation to approve.
Any questions for Grant on this application? Might want to have a conversation with Jesse in the airport, not knowing what time our flights are taking off, and with those, that's a different world out there now. And there'll be times when there'll be traffic trying to get there and trying to get out of there, to kind of make sure we understand if there's going to be that kind of congestion.
Conflict? Yes, sir.
It'd just be a good thought to do. In the audience, any questions or comments? Okay, Grant?
And finally, the Gulf Shores Middle School has requested a public assembly for a Dolphin Dash, a 5K and fun run, scheduled to take place on Saturday, October the 15th in the morning, 8:30 a.m. For the fun run starting and then 9 a.m. for the 5K. It would be located at the town green at the beach. So on the screen is the proposed route. On the far right-hand side where it says start finish, that's at the town green at Gulf Place. The participants would travel west along Beach Boulevard, go out West Lagoon Avenue over west to 11th Street south to Beach Highway, and then take Beach Highway back all the way to the town green. It's an opportunity for them in the November time of the year to generate some revenue for the Gulf Shores Middle School. All the departments have reviewed this, and it is recommended approved. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Grant. Council, questions, comments? Anybody?
Grant, generally, how long does it take to do a 5K?
They'll be out of
know it's
the
slow
location
and
by
fast.
noon, but yeah, it's probably an hour and 15 minutes to actually run it. Brandon's here today, but he's got a boot on, so he may not be the right person to ask.
I'm just
A couple
curious,
hours.
simply because the roads are gonna be runners on them and stuff like that.
15-minute mile is a slow run. So for 5 miles or 3 miles, so yeah, about an hour, hour and 20 minutes, give or take.
Joe, they do have age groups though, and you and I are old enough.
No,
If you want
That's why I was asking.
challenge me,
no, it'll take me about 5 hours probably.
And the fun run portion of it is just that, it's a walk run, it's whatever, it's
I
just
was
to show
just
support
curious.
for.
We'll have people in the streets, you know, we're getting a lot of 5K runs and stuff nowadays.
I was more interested in that sipping and tipping. I don't know what the tipping means, but the sipping doesn't sound bad, but we digress. Any questions or comments for Grant? Thank you, Grant. One addition that Philip Harris wanted me to put on the agenda, he wants us to form a tree ordinance review committee that will be led by Philip and by Joe. And they're working on participants in doing that and trying to put together something to give a little bit more focus and update on that. So, and that's the last thing that we have on the agenda. Any of our staff folks have anything they need to bring forward in addition? Council, anything you got? You? Anybody in the audience with anything? This is your time. Yes, sir.
Mayor, council members, my name is Steve Henry, I'm the president of South Baldwin Community Theater. I am very excited to announce that our season 54th season, we pulled back the curtain this Friday evening when we proudly present the hilarious comedy, The Boarding House. All invited. Again, this is our 54th season. For about 48 of those years, we have called the city of Gulf Shores our hometown. And I am just as excited that for the third consecutive year, our hometown is our presenting sponsor as well. So I invite everyone here to take part. It's a great comedy. It runs for 2 weekends, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, beginning this Friday night. The average ticket on Broadway right now is $175, so we're cheap at $23. So as I said, this is our 54th season. We will present 10 full productions this year, starting Friday night, going through August. We are so excited about it. And one last thing, I'll let you know, I haven't told our board yet. We just got a phone call a couple hours ago that we are a finalist for an Impact 100 grant that, if successful this year, will be the seed money for what will be the biggest expansion in the history of our theater. So we'll be telling you more about that as we go. But for now, we'd love to see you Friday night or anytime over the next 2 weekends. Thank you.
I appreciate the announcement. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just had a couple things, ways we can improve the election process. I just had a couple questions about the chain of custody and the ballot handling that could impact the integrity of results in the future. Key concerns about the recount. The voting machines arrived without seals. The electronic voting machines were delivered unsealed, which violates the standard chain of custody requirements under Alabama election law 17-9-12 on equipment security. Without tamper evidence seals, there's no verifiable assurance that the machines weren't accessed or altered, potentially affecting tabulation. At least over 500 rejected ballots requiring hand counting. A significant number of ballots, estimated at over 500, were rejected by the machines and had to be manually reviewed and counted later. This high rejection rate suggests possible calibration issues, voter confusion, or systemic errors in the ES&S machines used in Baldwin County. These ballots were handled openly on the floor, as shown, rather than immediately secured in locked containers for official retabulation. Improper ballot storage during the process. Rejected and provisional ballots should have been placed directly into locked sealed boxes to preserve their integrity for the full recount. Per guidelines from the Alabama Secretary of State and federal standards, Help America Vote Act. Instead, they were left accessible and handled, increasing risks of mishandling or contamination. The Baldwin County employee Tammy Chance made the decision to separate the ballots she felt would be rejected so they would not be run through the machines twice, saving time. This was not her decision to make. That fell within the authority of the people you guys appointed, not her. Thank you to everyone who actively participated in the political process by voting and running for office to ensure the government reflects the value of its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody? Yes, sir, Mr. Corcoran.
Mayor and council, good afternoon. Just want to let you know Gulf Shores City Schools is in homecoming week. Lots of activities every day of the week, culminating with a game against Blunt at Mickey Miller Blackwell Stadium on Friday at 7 o'clock kickoff with homecoming festivities at halftime. We encourage everybody to go to gsboe.org if you want to see what festivities are going on throughout the week. And we encourage you to come and see the crowning of our homecoming queen and another great game at Mickey Miller Blackwell. Once again, thank you to this council for the investment you made in our field. We had a home game where we were successful against McGill-Tulane. We won 10-6, and it was a great event. The rain didn't have anything to do with it because the field drained so well and is in great condition, and we're grateful for that once again. We had our very first school board meeting at our new venue at the Wave Learning Center, and that was at 1717 East 3rd Street. And we will convene again there this Thursday at 5 p.m. in our new venue to hold our regularly scheduled board meeting, which will also be our second budget hearing of the year. So we're grateful for that facility as well. We encourage everybody to come out and attend our new school board venue. Seating is limited, so we encourage you to get there in time for the 5 o'clock kickoff. And we will have a open house for that facility once the entire punch list is finished. So once again, thanks for letting us use this venue for so many years, and go Dolphins.
Kevin? Kurt Vigorous. Anybody else? Yeah, well, we appreciate you attending. We will, next Monday night, we will convene here at 4 o'clock to consider these and vote on them. Anything else?
I did want to just say one thing. Last week, we had a couple of comments, public comments, and just wanted to respond to those. We did have a lady here who asked about the speed tables in Gulf Pines, and it was explained that we are not implementing that recommendation from the consultant, so we will not be putting those speed tables in. Also, there was a question about the noise ordinance that was adopted, about the subjective standard that was in that noise ordinance. And we just wanted to say that, and I talked to our attorney about this, but the ordinance does have a subjective standard based on what a normal person of customary sensitivity would think is noise. Almost every ordinance we reviewed had that, both an objective standard as well as a subjective reasonable standard. The objective standard, is most likely will be used in all enforcement actions. It's entirely objective based on measurements from an instrument designed to capture decibel levels. The subjective standard is for situations where there is a noise problem and the officer does not have an instrument that captures decibel levels on them, and therefore needs to make a call in the field. This ordinance does support that call. In other words, if a police officer tells you to turn your music down, you should probably turn it down because it is enforceable through our ordinance. So we just wanted to say that.
Thank you, John. Did I forget anything else? We stand adjourned. Thank you.